What is going on, you guys? My name is Kyle Sulkar, and I officially own every M3 generation made in the 21st century. What is going on, you guys? My name is Kyle Sulkar, and I'm super excited to have you back here today with one of my favorite videos probably I've ever been able to make. I've been dreaming of making this video since I was a little kid, and I always wanted to make it with cars that I actually own. So this is every single M3 generation made since the year 2000, specifically here in 2001, the E46 was unveiled, and that's been a dream car of mine, that's been a dream car of mine, that's been a dream car, and that's been a dream car as I've grown up through my life. So I want to share those experiences with you. Obviously, it's taken a long time to get even to this point, and I know it's nothing crazy, but for a BMW M enthusiast like myself and fanboy, this is something I've always wanted to do. So today we're going to go over all the different variants and the differences between the models, telling you what I love and don't love about the specific models, and then I'm going to tell you what I think is the best M3 for the money and the best M3 overall. So it's going to be a fun video today, and we're going to start it right over here with the 2005 E46 M3 convertible. Now, I bought this car in California and had it shipped here. I've been doing a lot of work to it, including the wheels, CSL wheels, the BBSs off of the competition package. My favorite set of wheels for that car, but it's carbon black, so it's like a dark blue kind of color. I don't make up the names, BMW does, but I have been a huge BMW E46 M3 enthusiast. If you check the channel, I've owned everything from Oxford green cars to built out silver cars and all this stuff in between. Most of them have always been my favorite variant, which is a manual transmission, 6-speed manual. This is the first M3, E46 M3 I've ever owned that is SMG. I know that's a sin, it's a cardinal sin.
It's going to be really easy for you to find a silver convertible with dove gray interior and a manual transmission for $12,000, but finding a manual coupe that's alpine white on red is going to set you back probably $8,000 more than the same variant. So, you know, it's something to look out for, and it's something you want to look into.
Is transmission. So this particular car has the manual 6-speed gearbox, which is obviously something that I'd recommend. The SMG is a little bit slow, it's a little bit clunky. It's literally the worst way to spec an E46, convertible and SMG. But I got a great deal on it, and I'm actually going to be bringing that in a video, future video on the channel of us kind of bringing that back to life, and that's super fun for me. So E46 M3, 333 horsepower, inline 6 motor. They offered it an SMG, which is a sequential manual gearbox, and then the 6-speed manual, and then obviously in a coupe and a convertible. So moving on here real quick, we got the E92, which is, in my opinion, the most beautiful stock car ever made. The E92 M3, especially with the competition package wheels, the carbon fiber roof, and all of the amazing lines on it, is just beautiful. This specific car is a 2008, which is the first year that they made this specific generation, and it went from 2008 to 2013. E46, a little update, E46 went from 2001 to 2006. Now, the E92 M3 right here, alpine white, one of the best colors you can get on BMWs. It's clean, it looks great. It's a V8, the only M3 that was ever produced with a V8 engine, and it's absolutely glorious. It's got a full exhaust in there. Got plenty of videos for you guys to check out too, but we'll keep it short and sweet. Beautiful car, 6-speed manual transmission, arguably the best M3 to a lot of people and a lot of enthusiasts out there because it's raw, it's a 6-speed, it sounds amazing, and they just drive awesome. Timeless interior, you cannot go wrong. So leading me to the M4. I know, this was a video about M3s. I used to have a 2018 M3 that I bought brand new. You guys, obviously, like I said, once again, plenty of videos on that on my channel, the whole ownership experience, etc., etc., etc. But while I was waiting for the G80 and with everything that was going on in the last year, 2 years, or whatever, it got heavily delayed. I ordered the car and there was a 6-7 month delay on it. So I had traded in the F80, awaiting over the winter for my G80 to come in, and it didn't. And it got delayed up until summer. So I said, you know what, let me buy a convertible, let me try out this platform. I still had a bunch of mods, the HRE wheels, etc. So I bought this car also from California, and then I just modded it out, did some stuff to it, and we'll see where it takes us. But I do love the chassis. It's pretty much exactly the same as the F80. This came in the convertible, the M4 coupe, and then the M3 would be the sedan. I forgot to mention the E92 came in the convertible, hardtop convertible, just like the M4 is, and then it came in the coupe, which what this is, and then it also came in the sedan, which is loved by many. It's the E90, E92, and E93, and then we've got the F80 F82, which is the M4, and the F83, which is this, the M4 hardtop convertible. Now moving on to the newest, latest, and greatest from BMW, the G80 M3. Now I'm gonna save you guys the time, but I've heavily went over this car in recent videos, and I don't wanna bore you to death, but this is a frozen dark gray individual color G80 M3 four-door, the M3 competition rather, and it's got the individual paint, obviously, as you guys can see, the frozen, and then it's got the carbon bucket seats, the M-carbon bucket seats in Kyalami orange, extended leather. I spec'd this car out exactly the way I wanted it. It's the only one in the United States at the time when I bought it, and still now in this configuration as far as I'm aware. And I'm gonna keep repeating that in the videos until I figure out somebody else who has one. But I'm very proud of that car. I absolutely love it. It's been something I've been working towards. I never was able to build an M3 because when I was 21, I purchased the F80 in 2018, and it was the end of the run. There was no more builds going out, so I had to buy something that was already done. That one was gray. Obviously, this one's gray, and that one's mineral gray. But, you know, you can see I'm not the most colorful guy in the world, but I do like cars with color. So getting into it, you know, obviously this video is kind of hard to make because structuring all the cars and getting them all set up properly can be difficult, but now that they're here, I want to tell you guys a little bit about each car and why it's important to understand the differences and what you might want to buy, or comparing your car to this one, or just in general, because BMW has been around for a quite considerable amount of time and they make awesome cars. Now, the E30 M3 was made in, I think, like 1988 or something like that. They've got, you know, the 4 headlights on both sides, and that kind of iconic look. I love them. I just think, like I said, I think they're overpriced. E36, beautiful car. I've owned quite a few of those. I love those cars too, great driver's cars, but they are a little bit on the older side. I think every car here can hold its own even today with being a modern daily driver M3 variant. You know, what's important to me about the M3 is that it's kind of like a super fun car. It drives amazing, amazing technology, amazing looks, amazing ride, but you can also daily drive it, which is the best part about these things. So the G80 M3, it comes only in a manual. If you buy non-competition, you can get it with a manual, and then it's got the 8-speed automatic. So I've got the competition package, so you only can get it with the 8-speed ZF automatic, which is a brilliant transmission. More on that in other videos, of course. And then the M4, this is dual clutch DCT, which I actually really love, but they also offer it in a manual, which is cool. But I think out of all these cars, the manual transmissions should have stayed here, and putting them in these cars is just holding on to something that isn't really there anymore. These cars are ridiculously fast, and it just dates them for no reason. However, I do understand enthusiast market. I do understand people who have to have a manual, so I do applaud it if you do get one, and those cars are gonna hold value better than these ones 100,000,000%. So this car obviously is worth more because it's manual. This car is worth less because it's SMG, and then the DCT on the M4 is kind of a wash. I don't think anybody specifically nowadays, if you have a 444 horsepower or modified like this one is, 520 wheel horsepower, convertible, you're not gonna want a manual transmission, just in my opinion, because that's the best part about these things. You can kind of turn them off, turn them back on, as far as like putting them in a drive, enjoying them, and then the other side of it, where it's gonna be where you can like actually shift and have a good time with them. So the things that I do and don't like about specific cars would start with the G80. I think when I first bought this car, it was a little bit underwhelming because I was comparing it to my modified F80 M3 and then my modified M4. It wasn't as exciting, as it wasn't as loud, it didn't feel as fast, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But now this car has about 1,000 miles on it. It's just about to be ready for the break-in service at 1,200, and I've grown to love it. In the last like 600 miles or so, I've fallen in love with this car as a daily driver. It's so fast, so fun. The way that it handles is out of this world. I'm telling you, I'm not making this stuff up. At first, I wanted to not like it, but the more I lived with it, the more I just experienced it. It's just game changer of an M3. If people don't like it because of the grills or whatever, I say, you know, you're not gonna like a lot of life because you have to be willing to adapt in business and life, relationships, everything else, you have to adapt. So what this car is to me is the adaptation of BMW over time, the futuristic looks, all the different technology in it. It just makes life easier. It's got everything from, you know, keyless entry with your phone to remote start to just everything that was never offered in the previous models. You really start to learn that when you go from one generation to the next. Now the M4, I think, is the best car just in general. It's so fast, twin turbo inline 6. It's a beautiful car all around. You got good technology, amazing sound system, amazing everything, and you got the hardtop convertible. And this variant, you really can't go wrong. You can get one in the $40,000 to $50,000 range. I would say for a nice one, this one has 26,000 miles. And yeah, I think you really can't go wrong with this car. Beautiful car, most up-to-date car for the money if that's your budget. And then the E92 M3, you're gonna spend around 30 to 40,000 for a pretty nice one, for like a car like this. And then the E46, I would say you're gonna spend between, on the super low end, 18,000 to maybe 30,000 for a really nice one. And then this car, the MSRP on that car is like 90,000. So it gives you a little bit of a range, 90, say like 50 for a nice one, 40 for a nice one, and like 30 for a nice one. So you gotta get that range. Obviously, this one's gonna depreciate over time, which, you know, that's just the name of the game with that thing. But most of the time with these cars, it's easy to not lose money on them just because they're typically on their appreciation curve. This car definitely is, this car definitely is, and this car still has some room to go down in my personal opinion. But with the car market this year, who knows what's gonna happen, and everything seems to be super hot and juicy right now. But guys, overall, I'll just say, I absolutely adore every one of these cars in a different way. I think when I first bought the E92 M3 after owning so many E46s, it was the most amazing thing ever because it sounded better, it looked better, and it had a better, more free-flowing manual transmission than what I was used to, not as notchy. So I would say, for the money, the E92 M3 is the best car out of this fleet. If you're only gonna spend $30,000, you're, 30, 35, 40,000 in that range, your best bet is going with one of these cars. Not only because you have a lot of room for appreciation, it's the only V8 M3 like I mentioned, but it's also just the best looking stock car, like I said, I've ever seen in my life. I think it's just a beautiful chassis and you can't go wrong. However, a lot of people who drive these cars are just goobers, and they just, all they do is say how great of a car it is and how bad all the other ones are. And I think that's great. If that's all you have and that's your car and you want to be like loyal to that chassis, I understand it. But you can't negate the fact that there are other M3s and they do have good things about them. It's like everyone thinks as soon as this car was produced, BMW just lost their marbles. But for EPA regulations, getting more horsepower, fuel efficiency, all that different stuff, you can't keep a V8 in a car like this. You got to go to something more efficient and reliable, and you got to change things up. You got to change up the look, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they're not going to sound like a V8 just by default. So anyone who's stuck in the past is just really annoying at the end of the day. The forum junkies are crazy, and I just think you have to have at least a little level of appreciation for all of the different variants. And that's what's important to me. A lot of channels and stuff like that, and people will put together cars and drive them for 30 seconds and then make their opinion on them. But I've put considerable amounts of miles, combined hundreds of thousands of miles on all of these chassis. Obviously that G80 I just got like a month ago, so it's only got 1,000 miles on it. But I'm really speaking from a place of adoring these cars, loving these cars, being a true enthusiast. As long as I can remember, I've been a BMW fanboy, and I would take all of these cars over a car you could buy with all of the values combined, just because I enjoy sharing them with you. I enjoy having them here. I enjoy looking at them. I enjoy modifying them. Like little things like these wheels, restoring this car, the wheels on this car, my favorite wheels of all time. Got the HRE F84s on the M4, and then we got these beautiful, I don't even know what they're called on the G80. There's all sorts of different things. But to me, crazy interiors and awesome exterior colors is one of my things. Obviously, I wasn't able to really knock it out of the park with these older ones. I kind of just was shopping for the deal. But with these two, obviously, this one's got red interior, extended red, secure orange, rather, is what they call it. And then obviously that one's got the actual Kyalami orange bucket seats. But, guys, with these cars, it's all about being smart about your money. It's all about figuring out your cost basis and never, buying the wrong car. All these cars obviously have clean titles, and they're all, there's no elephants in the closet with them or whatever they call it. But elephants in the room, that's what it is. But they're all great in their own way. And if I was gonna say one M3 that's the best out of all of them, it's the G80. I'm telling you guys, it really is. If you wanna argue, just drive one, and drive one a considerable amount of time. Drive one that's been broken in, experience both transmissions. But I'm telling you, the way that this car is set up, it looks the most badass now. Once it's lowered, it's spacers, it's gonna look just the most ridiculous as an M3. It drives the best. The handling is absurdly good. The seating position is amazing. The seating position in that car is horrible, but everything else about it is good. But just little things like that. The technology is amazing. The carbon fiber everywhere is amazing. I'm telling you guys, if you get the chance to experience one or buy one, definitely consider a G80 M3. The thing is it's just amazing. It's amazing. And I'm sure the more miles I put on it, the more mods I do to it, I'll start to love it even more. But like I said, budget-wise, the best way, easiest way to make a car fast, downpipes tune on a car like this, and you're at 500, 520 wheel intakes, etc. You get the crazy noises. It's like pretty much buying like an STI or an Evo that's luxury and, you know, has a dual clutch, or you can get it in a manual. So great buy there. Market's a little high on them right now. Obviously, like I said, great buy here. And if you want a car that will never lose money, and I will always probably have one of these cars, the E46 M3 is the most legendary of the bunch. Obviously, it's such a timeless car. It's so good looking. It's the cheapest way to get into an M3 convertible, aside from, you know, an old E36, but we don't really like driving those anymore. But it's a great car for the money. You can't go wrong. You can have a lot of fun with them. And if your budget's on the lower end, you will have an absolute blast owning those cars. I've owned those cars since 2015 or so, 14, 15. I bought my first one when I was like, I don't know, 17, and I've adored them ever since. I've pretty much always had one in the garage, and I will continue to do so. And you'll never, ever lose money on that car, as long as you buy it right and you buy a pretty good example. I'm not recommending you buy an SMG convertible like I did, but it's fun for me. You know, I've had a lot of manual coupes and all the enthusiast specs, but this is just a fun, different project. So guys, I really appreciate you guys spending some time with me today. This is a little bit of a different video because logistically it's difficult to walk around everything, but I hope you guys enjoyed taking a closer look at the cars with me and all that good stuff. But as always, guys, like this video if you liked it, dislike it if you did not. You can follow me on Instagram at Sulkar Media. For all my business and behind the scenes agency stuff, and at Kyle Sulkar for all of my personal stuff. Guys, drop a comment below. Tell me everything about what you want to hear, your opinions on the cars, what you want to see next, and, you know, other videos that I can make with all of them together. But guys, as always, with that being said, thank you so very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out.